You mentioned your daughter just got married. How much say did you have in the husband? Did he have to get your permission?
How much? He asked me for my permission, actually, yes. And I'm glad you asked that because I had this conversation with him. And of course, I'm Rollo Tomasi. You're asking for my daughter. So
he must have been himself.
Yeah, well, it's, you're in for a monologue. So just like sit down, because here we go, The main gist of it was, I said, do you know what you're asking me? He said, well, yeah, I want your daughter's hand in marriage. I'm like, well, that's a very nice romantic gesture, and I'm sure if we lived in the age of courtly love, that would be, like in the high Renaissance, we would be that'd be awesome, right? Yeah. But what you're really asking is there is a function to asking a husband, or a father's permission to marry his daughter, because it's. I actually, once again, wrote about this in Religion, the idea of prearranged marriages. Right? Now, of course, this isn't a prearranged marriage, but the notion of asking for a fathers for your daughter's hand in marriage, you're not just asking me to marry my daughter. You're asking me to blend my tribe with your tribe. And if you look at like the ancient Scots, and you look at just a lot of different ancient cultures, they have rituals that are like, if you're going to ask permission, you have to jump through a lot of hoops. You got to trial by combat. Like, that's what I should have said. You're going to have to defeat me in single combat before you can do it. Like that would, like, if we lived, just a few hundred years ago, that might have been part of it, depending on the culture. Yeah. Damn. But fortunately, we don't have to do those things. There was one stipulation that they named their first child, if it was a male child, I wanted to name the child, but. Other than that, I told him, I said, you're asking me to blend my family with yours. I said, as a son-in-law, I would love to have you, because I think you're a great guy. I think you're a perfect fit for my daughter. But I also have to take into consideration your family and your family's family, and the fact that any children that's produced as a result of this marriage, how is this going to affect them? Have you thought about any of this kind of stuff? And I wish I would have talked to James Sexton before all of this. James Sexton, the divorce attorney guy, because James was saying this, and he gave me some insight about stuff that I hadn't even thought about. It's really? Like, we know more about our home mortgages and our titles and the stipulations and the legalities of like buying a car title than we do about like marriage and what's entailed in marriage. Like, this is what you're signing up for. And he was suggesting, and now this is never going to happen, but it was funny as hell. He was suggesting that there needs to be, like, in the marriage contract, you have to have like you have to get sign here, initial, if you're going to buy a house or something. Yeah. And just so that you understand and you have read all of these sort of legalistic stipulations. We don't do anything even remotely like that. I thought that was kind of that was interesting, because I think we need to have not just a like premarital counseling, we need to have postmarital counseling as well. And that was part of the conversation that I had. But the main gist of the conversation I had with my son-in-law was that you're asking me, and I told him I'm happy to have my clan mixed with your clan, of course, but I wanted him to understand what was going on, because a marriage is not just about the two people involved in the marriage. It's also involved with the in-laws and the friends of the in-laws, my friend. Like, for what I do, there's probably some people who wouldn't want to be associated with me, because like they wouldn't want to marry my daughter. I wouldn't want to marry off my son to them because of that. Right. Because maybe they had a bad, they just didn't had a misperception, right? I would love to have the opportunity to sort of clarify that. But the idea of mixing families is really what marriage is about. And like, a lot of people want to say like, oh, the real purpose of marriage was to like strengthen alliances and like, sell off your daughter like chattel and everything. It's like, no, it wasn't. I said, for the nobles and the aristocracy of the time, sure. But there was a lot more people who are the lower classes that were getting married than the aristocracy, just simply because of numbers, right? Right. So marriage served a much different purpose than just just like solidifying alliances, with Spain, with France, or something like that. So when I was telling him this, I said, I'm happy to have my family be commingled with yours, but I said, you're creating a ripple right now. And what that ripple effect is going to be is you and my daughter coming together, and you're going to have children, and those children are going to have children as well. And when I married my wife My parents are gone. They're already deceased. But my wife's parents are still alive, and I singularly take care of her mother, my mother-in-law. Okay, that's part of marriage. I married my wife, and so and I was taking care of my mom, was taking care of my dad. When they're in their last days, right? But they're gone now, and I'm glad I don't have to take care of my father-in-law because he's pretty much set. But my mother-in-law has lived with us for a long time, and I've always had, like right now, I'm buying a house in Vegas. I have to find a place that can accommodate my mother-in-law in a certain room. I know what she does. I know what she likes to do, and because it's like what is it in the mafia? What is it? Duty a familia, right? That's me. Like, you're not my blood relative technically, but you're my married relative. So when I married my wife, that was part of the deal.
Right.
And when my son-in-law and my daughter get married, I told her, I said, you might have to take care of me. You might have to take care of my wife. Maybe I'll be gone, but you might have to take care of my wife. Or something of the same nature.
Right.
Like if you have children or grandchildren that are produced as a result of this, what is your relationship, the quality of your relationship is going to affect them as well. So it's seeing the forest for the trees, because when you're asking for someone's hand in marriage, it's like you're just mooning over the girl. Again, proximate outcome versus ultimate outcome. The ultimate outcome is I'm taking care of my mother-in-law. I didn't see that coming when I got married in '96.
Right.
So
yeah, that's good to think about. People don't think about the family.